And by the arse of not telling my husband's family that I speak their language. Story time. So me and my husband, who we'll call Steve, have been married for about 3 years now. I'm from West Canada and my husband is from Germany. We lived in Canada for the majority of our relationship, but recently we decided to make the move back to Germany so that we could be closer to my husband's family. So the day after our flight landed, we all went to see Steve's family. I gotta wet my sponge. This is only the second time I've seen them. The first time was on our wedding day. They greeted us, they brought us inside their house, we had dinner and then shortly left the house. For the next few months, we would go and visit Steve's family every few days. Now, I began to realise that the rest of the family would start to speak about me specifically in German. They would make really rude comments about my hair and makeup, saying that my fashion was very questionable. The thing that really got me is that they would make horrific comments about my pregnant belly. Now, I spoke to Steve about this and I told him that I didn't like the way that they were talking about me and that every single thing I did was being judged. Steve told me he would talk to his family about it. So the time comes again for me to go around to his family's house, and this time no comments were made. Winner. For like 3 months, it was like nothing had ever happened. In that time, I gave birth to a gorgeous baby girl. This little bubble was burst, and Steve's family found out about the name. They were not happy. Now, I really put off seeing my in-laws for a very long time, as you can imagine. But yesterday was my mother-in-law's birthday, so we all decided to go over. It was good for about 5 minutes, okay? And then started to go downhill very, very quickly. Everyone wanted to hold Lilith, and this made my mother-in-law Sandra upset because no one was paying attention to her. Everyone was paying attention to Lilith. And this is when I caught my sister-in-law talking to Sandra about how she was so frustrated that I wouldn't let anyone hold the baby. And this is when my mother-in-law had the audacity to call me a fat, ugly, hokey addict. This is when I decided that I would let rip. I turned to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law and replied to them in German, saying I have been understanding what you have been saying about me this whole time, that calling me these names was the absolute last straw. I told them that I had known German my whole life. When I tell you, this table instantly blew up. People are yelling at me though, telling me that this is my fault. And this is when I grabbed Steve, grabbed the kids and walked out. And we have not seen his family since. Am I the arsehole here? Am I wrong for uninviting my husband's work wife from our wedding? Story time. Now, I'm 29 and I'm supposed to be marrying the love of my life, Steve, in the next few months. And we have been planning this wedding for over a year. And to be honest, it has been the most beautiful and the most stressful experience of my life. But there has been one person that has been casting a shadow over the whole entire thing. And that is my fiance's work wife, Amy. So let's backtrack a little bit here. How did we get to this point? Steve and Amy have been co-workers and friends for about 5 years now. Now, at first, I was honestly a little bit relieved that he had a good friend at work. Steve's job can be very demanding and quite isolating at times, so I was thankful that he had support through work. I tried to not let it affect me how close their bond was, but over time, their bond became something that I just could not handle anymore. Amy has become a huge part of his life. They text constantly, often late into the night. It's even at the point where Amy will know things about Steve that even I don't know. It really does sting to know that he will go to Amy for advice over me. Steve, time and time again, just reassures me that Amy is just his work wife and they are just friends. Fucking love it when my contact lens just falls out my eye. Please hold. We are back. It got to the point in our wedding planning where Amy was starting to chime in with some of her suggestions. We'd have suggestions about where we'd want the wedding, saying that the venue doesn't feel like him. When I was choosing the flowers, she'd be like, well, he's never liked bright colours, remember? She even asked if she could come wedding dress shopping with me because she said, I know what Steve likes, so I can make sure you pick the right one. This girl requires a lobotomy. I'm trying to laugh it off, but this is cutting deeper than she would now. And I felt like I was constantly having to measure up to what her view of my wedding would be. Now, last week was our engagement party, and this was supposed to be a really, really happy day for me. But I just could not get past the fact that Amy was glued to Steve's side the whole party. This whole situation left me feeling like a third wheel at my own engagement party. The worst part of all of it was when I walked up to them and I heard Amy say, you know, if you ever change your mind, I will always be here. That point, I would be in jail. I hope to God she was joking. And Steve just laughed as if nothing had been said. Now, I just could not let all of this go. So I decided to pull Steve aside that night and have a conversation with him about it. And I told him how inappropriate the comment she made was. Steve looks at me with this look of surprise on his face and is like, you're taking this way too seriously. Like, she's just playing around. I felt like I was going crazy, as if I was seeing something that wasn't there. Later, I spoke to Steve and I said, listen, I can't have this girl at my wedding. I said that she clearly sees herself as part of our relationship. He said that I was overreacting and I was letting jealousy ruin his friendships. Then implied that uninviting her would damage his reputation at work, and now Steve is barely talking to me. Because now I'm making him choose between his best friend and his girlfriend. I was convinced my boyfriend was cheating on me, but as soon as I confronted him, I'd find out the truth. It went skin deep. Story time. So I've been seeing this guy who we'll call Steve since like last February time, and let me tell you, this man is just absolutely perfect. We don't live together just yet, but every now and again I will go and stay at his house, and he put a little shelf for me in his bathroom so I could put all of my skincare, all of my makeup, and eventually I ended up having a little bag of makeup and skincare that just stayed at my boyfriend's house. It was very convenient for me. Now, in September, I started to get the vibe that something was off. Every single time I would go around to Steve's house, the skincare and makeup that I had left on the shelf had all moved. And I thought, oh, maybe he's just cleaning and moving stuff around. But then I realised that literally nothing else was changing in the bathroom, just where my skincare was. Got all my favourite eye serums and hyaluronic acids, do you know what I mean? And then it started to escalate and get worse. This is about October time. I'm now starting to notice that my products are being used when I'm not there, going down a lot quicker than they usually would. I'm losing my mind, girls. It got to the point where I was taking pictures of how much was left in each bottle before I left to prove to myself that I wasn't going crazy. So I'm replacing my products with other products, and these other products weren't being used, which was even more suspicious. I'm now thinking that whoever this girl is that is coming into his house and who he is cheating on me with has good taste, and I don't like that. So this is when I just started to get in my head about everything. I spoke to my girlfriends about it, and they agreed that they also thought that Steve was probably having someone over, and they encouraged me to bring it up with him. I compiled all of the pictures and all of the notes that I had made over the past few months, because at this point, this all happened last night. It's been a good 4 months of someone using my skincare. So I sit Steve down and I say, listen, I need you to tell me the truth. Don't lie to me. I need the truth if you respect me. I said, why are you cheating on me? And he looks at me with this bamboozled look. I think, don't look at me like that. You know what you've been doing. You know you're a liar. He's like, but I haven't been cheating on you. I'm like, prove it. Prove it then. He's like, what's making you think that? I bring up all the pictures, I bring up all the notes, and Steve's face drops. In turn, making my heart drop. And I mentally prepared myself for my boyfriend to tell me that he had been sleeping with some other girl for like the past 6 months. But no, I was actually pleasantly surprised by what he confessed. He confessed to me that it was actually him using my skincare. He noticed that in the recent months his skin has been getting super dry, and noticed how hydrated and plump my skin was looking. I was like, okay, well, why were you only using my L'Oreal Paris products? He's like, well, I did dabble in the other bits, but I just preferred the L'Oreal Paris skincare. He said that in literally an hour, his skin would feel more hydrated and plump when he used the Revitalift filler. And he hated the other ones that I had because they were super greasy, whereas this one isn't that greasy. And I said, all right then, what about the eye cream? You telling me you wear eye cream? He said, yeah, of course I wear eye cream. He said, I did my research. He says, pure caffeine, vitamin C, and niacinamide. Why wouldn't I want to reduce the appearance of dark circles? He also mentioned how much he loves the roller applicator. And then he said because he loved the niacinamide in the Revitalift Filler Eye Serum, he wanted to get the Bright Reveal Dark Spot Serum as well, which is the GOAT, might I add. This man then absolutely bamboozled me because then I was keeping up with the new launches because I was getting involved. He said that he'd seen the launch of the Duo Serum. My guy's thinking about aging. He said, if you're going to look young and youthful forever, I want firmer skin too. And I said, well, to be honest, Steve, if you want firmer and healthier skin, you should probably just be wearing SPF. To which he replies, oh yeah, I've been using the Bright Reveal one. I was like, Steve, man, proud of you for divulging into skincare, but let L'Oreal hook you up with the best of the best. Buy your own products instead of stealing. I found out that a random man was living in my apartment. Story time. So I was living with my best friend, who we will call Amy. We were roommates for about 2 years. Everything was good. We were those annoying besties that would do everything together. We had matching pajamas. And all of a sudden, Amy started acting weird. She'd go MIA for hours. And when I asked her where she'd been, she'd be like, oh, just nowhere. At first, I thought she was just busy. Then I started to notice the most random things happening in our apartment. One night I came home and there was multiple dirty dishes in the sink, but the dishes weren't ours, they weren't our plates. And another time I went to grab a little Pepsi Max from the fridge and there was food in there that we don't eat. So one day I was like, Amy, have you seen these things that are happening? Like, do you know anything about it? And she goes, oh, don't worry about that. That's my boyfriend who's just been hanging out a little bit more. A little bit more? Babe, there's an entire man's wardrobe in my hallway closet. I tried to play it cool because I know Amy, we've been best friends for so long. Why would we lie to each other? I figured he was just crashing here sometimes because his place was a bit of a shithole. But then it got worse. I'm hearing footsteps at night, like heavy man footsteps. You know that sound that is like your dad coughing in the morning? That would happen at like 3 a.m. And one day I woke up to find a random man stood in my kitchen. He said he was there because he got confused. Confused? Sir, this is a 2-bedroom flat, not a maze. One day I decided it is time to confront Amy about this whole situation. I sat her down and I was like, listen, I know your boyfriend's here a lot. Could you just like give me a heads up next time he's gonna be here? And she hit me with, oh, I've actually been meaning to tell you. He's living here now. Is he? No discussion. No discussion about splitting rent. Nothing. At this point, as I'm sure you can imagine, I am fuming. And she just shrugged it off and said to me, well, you're barely here anyway, so why does it matter? It matters, Amy, because funnily enough, I didn't sign up to live with your boyfriend. And then, to top it off, she asks me if I can start buying more groceries because he eats a lot. You'd think that was the final straw, but no. The final straw was, in fact, when I came home one night and found all my stuff from the bathroom in a box in my bedroom. Apparently, Steve needed more space. Oh, you mean my space? Cool. So I packed my stuff and now I'm crashing at my sister's house. Amy is blowing up my phone, telling me I'm being dramatic, saying I overreacted. So what do you